What's up, everybody? This is your boy Eddie from Flex, and welcome to this segment of Flex and Friends Live, our videocast and podcast experience where I get to sit down with, chat with, hang out with, and pick the brain of the industry's loudest, proudest, best, brightest, most passionate, and profound thought leaders. And we're talking about everything, you guessed it, manufacturing. And today I have yet another awesome guest who's coming in from the Buckeye State, because we love to bring him in here. My good friend Ahmed from Master Fluid Solutions. Hey, it's awesome to have you here for our first in-person live episode. So let's start things off.
I'm
How you doing,
happy to
man?
be a pioneer. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for actually organizing this and inviting us and hosting this live, basically. So I'm really excited.
No, it's awesome. And it's really cool to
wonderful.
have you, for sure.
Thank you.
And so as we do this, you know how it is. We jump right in. We get to know the human being. We'll talk about all the things that you're an expert in, but we got to get to know you first. So let's kick it off. Tell me about you personally and professionally. We got to know.
Okay. I'm going to start personally, right?
Let's do it.
So I'm a dad, father like yourself.
There we go.
Dad to 3 lovely daughters. I have to say that. Otherwise I get beat up at home.
They heard you.
Lovely
They're lovely.
daughters.
Lovely.
Yes, exactly. I call myself, I guess I call myself a curious explorer. I'm curious about the world. I like exploring stuff. And not only travel, but just exploring and finding out things in the world about all kinds of things. And it kind of sort of is the interest, is the core interest. And the last thing I know, as you can tell from me moving my hands and the fixing of my glasses earlier, which is a separate story, is I like working with my hands. So, building things, DIY, fixing cars, building little things. I love all that stuff. My latest project is basically a shed, which all of them basically, my colleagues basically learned about it as I went through it. And I learned so much building that shed. Because of course it wasn't just a simple shed, it was built like a house, with a foundation and, because I wanted to learn every single thing that goes into building a house. So it's part of who I am.
You got the mini fridge in there. You got the loft with the king size bed.
The inside is not quite done yet. No, it's just the outside yet. But yeah, it was fun. It was like learning all the trades basically, and getting all the right tools, which is a great benefit of doing DIY is that you can justify buying tools. So it was a great experience.
No, that's really, really cool. And it's nice to learn about you just in those regards. And as we further dive into who you are as a human being, I love asking people where their passion lies. So what are you passionate about? Got to know.
DIY, as I said, curious about all kinds of things. But, the thing that sort of has grabbed my attention since I was a child is science, advancement in science of all kinds. I used to read magazines and books like New Scientist and, Nature and so on, just because every step felt like, you were moving into the unknown, you're moving forward. And these days I kind of find myself more excited about things, advancement in space and space technology that, is kind of like, we went through the lull of space exploration, and then suddenly now so much is happening in that space, and both for our company and for me personally, I'm so excited to be part of this new race. And I'll give you an example. So a few years back, imagine the best that you had was like a slightly blurred vision, and that's all you could see the world with, and suddenly somebody gave you ears. That was LIGO, right? So in Hanford, right? So in Louisiana, and suddenly you can now hear what's going on in the world. And now, in the past year, we got this amazing James Webb Telescope, 1,000,000 miles away in the middle of space, peering back, billions of years, and I just encourage all of your users to, after this podcast, after this talk is over, go on the NASA website, go look up some of these images. They're just inspiring. They're beautiful. They just basically are a window into this, like, our space and our position in this big giant world. It's just a big giant universe.
Yeah, the pictures were amazing.
It is truly amazing, and the amount of engineering that went into it. You got to imagine. This thing has been in, sort of in design for 30 years, 25, 30 years. And when the first ideas came in to put this, a manufactured object into space, some of the technologies just simply didn't exist, like the coolers, right? So the coolers that are used to actually chill these instruments down to 7 Kelvin. It's those coolers. The technology for them just simply did not exist. So somebody had to invent the technology that enabled the space telescope to go in place. And then on top of it, this is where engineering excellence comes into it. There's U.S. engineering excellence comes into it. There were 237. I mean, don't count me. Maybe there's 238, but more than
237.
237. I don't know, but there were a lot, like more than 200. Okay, maybe that's a better way to put it.
There you go.
More than 200 single points of failure on this telescope.
Wow.
Single points of failure. I mean, you are in engineering. Flex machine manufacturers and stuff like that. And single points of failure are, we want to minimize those single points of failure. Because it's risk. It adds risk to the operation. And every one of them basically worked perfectly to put this telescope out there and making it work. And that is just so inspiring. Look, this is what we can do. There is a lot of chaos in the world, but then, these inspiring things happen. And that just sort of energizes you to do better.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly why I ask every single guest what they're passionate about. Because that right there, that is wonderful. And see, that's the things you don't get to talk about.
I know,
right?
But
you just did, and you clearly care about it.
I do.
I love it. So, thank you so much for being just vulnerable and sharing that with us. And as we kind of continue on the conversation, and we kind of shifted towards that manufacturing look, because there are probably a couple individuals who obviously know where you are now. But how did you find yourself getting into that manufacturing landscape? Where did that begin? Tell us about it.
My entire career has been spent in chemical manufacturing, right? Okay. So not machines, not things, but manufacturing in general. And yes, I mean, many of the challenges of any manufacturing are common to all manufacturing. You have material flows, you have supply chain, you have, you are then converting those materials and those things into something more useful, more valuable, and then moving it down to the end user or through a partner to a subcomponent manufacturer, then finally makes the final component and sends it out. So in general, all of manufacturing is kind of similar. But my particular story basically has been in chemical manufacturing.
Okay.
I started my journey out of the college doing bench testing, analytical testing for lubricants.
Okay.
Moved into developing lubricants, ended up kind of developing a specialty of industrial, military, and aviation fluids. And that kind of took me around the world, from the UK to Netherlands to US and multiple states. So it was kind of an interesting journey that kind of brought me along, and eventually kind of graduate to sort of managing other people and managing technologies, and slowly I kind of migrated more towards the business aspect of manufacturing. I was always interested in how businesses work, how how they add value to society, and all along, all this the space part and all the rest of it. I was always part of it, because even in a tiny piece, but you were always a little part of it. It's the little grease, it's a little hydraulic fluid, it's a little whatever, it's the little tiny things. And you say, yeah, I'm touching it, right?
Yes.
So that's my part of manufacturing, right? So this is how I sort of took my journey into manufacturing.
Okay.
I'm still in manufacturing. I still work for a wonderful company, Master Fluid Solutions.
Tell us about where you're at now. Let's do it. Yeah.
So Master Fluid Solutions, it's basically a company that focuses on metalworking fluids.
Okay.
Based in Perrysburg, and again, it's chemical manufacturing that touches regular material manufacturing across the world in so many industries and so many areas, and it's it's just continuing my journey into it, So now I touch a different aspect of manufacturing. Basically, it used to be more lubricant side. Now it's more on the cutting fluid side, which are also kind of lubricants, I guess. So,
gotcha.
But they're also coolants. So it's the journey continues.
There we go. As always, and as we continue the journey of this specific conversation, you and I talked about a lot of things prior to, and before we continue to move on, just to shout out and remind you, everybody going across the 3 major platforms, hop in that chat box, leave any question or comment that you may have. We pull it up on the screen, answer it live in real time. So as we continue, one thing that you seem to also be passionate about was innovation within the industry. Now, I've heard everybody and their sister talk about innovation. So we're going to take a step back. And Ahmed, what does that mean within manufacturing, in your opinion?
It's moving the art forward. So, I mean, at the simplest level, right? Moving the art forward. It may be baby steps. It may be significant changes like earth-changing steps, but it's moving and continuous improvement, moving the things forward. If you look at manufacturing at the moment, it's, you are looking at, for example, lights out manufacturing. You're looking at hybrid manufacturing, additive manufacturing. You're talking about new processes, new systems coming in, and all of them are contributing to moving manufacturing forward. And each one of them is essentially is innovative in its own right and making manufacturing overall more innovative, right? So baby steps, but collectively they're making sort of pretty big, significant steps taking manufacturing forward. So you can actually look at innovation many different ways, but I kind of think of it in this way. I basically think of it is, are you making a difference in improving productivity, in improving the condition of manufacturing, condition of society forward? And are you making a positive impact? And innovation should be making a positive impact.
Okay, so speaking of impact, do you have any specific examples? Because of course, people can think those small steps or those large steps. It's very subjective because everyone's seen them in their own respective perspective, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
Now, to you, what's a specific example or two that you think really highlights what that means?
In terms of taking steps forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So, any type of innovation that you feel, just so we can okay, that's what that means. Yeah, right.
So maybe you can. We can talk about robotics. We were talking about that earlier, right?
Yeah.
So, including robots or automation in manufacturing, that's a pretty big innovative step. It brings with its own challenges as well because they're working in close, sort of proximity with people as well. So you got to worry about sensing and how things are operating and so on. And those things are moving forward. On our part, when we talk about innovation, as in our company, or even in fluids in general, right? So we are always thinking about productivity improvements, right? So we are fundamentally focused on seeing how because we are a portion of the process, we are not the entire process, right? So our innovation, how does it help move the output of the function forward? So we make newer products. We make products that last longer. We make products that are safer for people. We make products that are that can do do better machining of more difficult materials. So those are basically the basic examples of how our business basically helps the innovation. Our innovation moves the art forward, as I say.
No, I like that, how you describe that as well. I think it's a very interesting perspective that I think a lot of people are going to be able to latch onto. And then another thing you and I discussed pretty extensively is the two concepts of sustainability and productivity. Obviously, some solid buzzwords, just like gluten-free for what it's worth, right? They're a thing. But some could say those are completely separate rooms, conversations, and everything. But you make a suggestion that they're actually more related than what we think.
Completely.
Tell me about it.
It's a great question. It really is a great question because it is so common for people to look at those two things as opposites, right? And when you think about if you look up productivity, for example, in a dictionary, right? So you look up productivity in a dictionary and says, what is productivity? And what you'd find is basically says, well, it's the efficiency with which you can make a product or a service, right? Provide a service. It's the efficiency improvement, right? And it's a measure of it. It's a measure of that efficiency. And when you look at sustainability, what is sustainability? And what we are talking about is a long-term view of that process. Like it's how to sustain a process over the long term.
Okay.
And to me, sustainability is just productivity over time. That's it. It's literally the two things are combined. It's like I'll give you an example.
Please. You gotta feed me now, dude.
I gotta give you an example.
You gotta feed me now.
If you wanted to improve productivity, right, you could have your team out there basically say, well, you know what, you're going to work weekends, you're going to work overtime because you're going to get this done. And if you don't change anything else, you're going to get short-term productivity, right? But that is itself not sustainable. Pretty soon, within weeks, you're going to get burnouts, you're going to get complaints, you're going to get lower quality, you're going to get, so essentially, even though you got some short-term productivity, it wasn't sustainable. Right?
Okay.
So sustainability means, okay, when I'm improving my productivity, how can I sustain it over a period of time? And we as in the company, right? So we basically say, okay, it's about the 3 E's. We say it's the economy, the equity, and the environment, right? So
okay.
So the company must be sustainable. The business of the company, right? We must have equity in terms of making sure the people that work for us, the people that use our products, all the stakeholders, suppliers that rely on us for their business, they're all basically benefiting from working with us. That's the part of equity, right? We participate in the local community. We have open days on people get time off to go do charitable work, for example. So community involvement things, and that's part of like business being part of that community. That's all in that equity. And finally, the environment. And environment encompasses all of these other things, like using less resources, doing more with less, and all those good things, right? So sustainability and productivity literally go hand in hand. I can give you I'll give you a more specific example, right?
Yeah, please do.
A little bit more nuanced, right? So
sure.
Maybe your audience might get bored, but I'll give you an example.
Let's do it. So I'm here for you.
Let's do it. So a few years back, like 2-3 years ago, right? So we were starting to get, we do quite a lot of work with the aerospace business, in the aerospace industry. Almost all the major OEMs, so we have good approvals from them, and we work with them closely, particularly when they're starting to develop new materials, new processes, and things like that. And there was kind of a need to develop a fluid that could work on hard metal machining, right? So for hard metal machining, like titanium and canal, titanium alloys and so on. So stainless is less hard, but anyway, you get my point, right?
I got you.
Hard metal machining, right? So
yep.
So in the simplest terms, right, what our scientists, we could have just charged our scientists and basically said, yeah, just give me more lubricity, because more lubricity can help with saving the tool, saving the part, and getting the product out. And instead, we kind of stepped back and basically said, okay, well, this little piece, this little fluid is going to impact. This is our chance, because we're changing the game here. We're innovating. We're changing the game with these new materials. It's not the same old paradigm, right? So they want to work with these new materials, but it's an opportunity for us to make a much bigger difference than just improving that little productivity improvement, or being ability even to machine those materials. So we went back to what we call a product design matrix, and in that matrix we actually made our formulators life really, really hard. We said, well, it's got to machine this well, but it's also got to be safe, and it needs to not have, like, say, chlorine in it or any of these other things that people don't want anymore. And it's got to be, you got to use less. You got to, it's just like a long laundry list of things. And look, my surprise, but actually, we have very good, talented formulators out there working for us. So it's, they came up with this product called Hypersol 888 NXT. And, it's a product that delivers on that performance. But what I want to talk about is what it is actually also delivering, which is not immediately apparent.
Okay.
Right. So it delivers the performance. I say there's a checkbox and move it away. But we really reduce the usage. Some people that are using these products, they are basically halving their usage of the fluid. So, you could look at it and say, well, that's a kind of oxymoron. You guys are, selling fluids. Why would you want to sell less? Right?
True story.
Right? Why? That's like, why would you want to sell less? And but that's actually the ethos of the company right from the beginning. We wanted to make manufacturing more efficient, more productive. So less is okay. But that little less means the customer is buying less, right? So their working capital is not tied up. They are storing less. They're consuming less. They're disposing less. Now, This is just happening in the manufacturing environment. Now you step back a little bit and you say, wait a second, that means also less being transported to them. No, half as many trucks. So instead of 3 trucks getting or 4 trucks getting to the customer, it's 2 trucks or 1 truck going to the customer.
Okay.
Right. So this is a logistical benefit. It's the CO2 reductions because those trucks are not on the road carrying this material down.
Yeah.
Then you come to our facility and you basically say, well, wait a second. Now in our facility, we are using half the materials. Basically, we are consuming half the resources that the planet provides for us.
Yeah.
Right. Our suppliers don't have to dig as much out of the ground. They're going to need for that particular operation. So the operation isn't changing. Right.
Sure.
But throughout the entire value chain, from cradle to grave, the one little change in this productivity improvement has just such a big impact. So the productivity was there, but now you're making it sustainable. You're connecting the two together, right? So now you can run for longer. You can, improve your operations. You can be more responsive to your customer because of this small change, or because of this small change, meaning like just the fluid change. And I mean, you are running a manufacturing operation here. Fluids are a very tiny component, very tiny portion of your spend, but they have this amazing, massive impact on all these associated things, right?
Right.
Your productivity, from your logistics, your working capital, your all these things. So, so that's kind of like that's an example of how a better product can actually really help both your immediate operations, but also be a sustainable solution.
Sounds like a synergistic win-win
Absolutely.
between yourself and your customers, honestly, and the industry,
and the industry and the planet.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it works all the way up and down the chain. So it's really those are kind of the things that are energizing, right? Because you are moving the art forward. You're getting back to that innovation and innovating to make a difference.
There you go. And then with that, looks like we have a chat pulled up. What is it, Isaac? Give me the good word.
Tom McGuire says, sustainable productivity is about maintaining a balance between the needs of the employee and those of the organization. It means continuous business growth at the same time as high levels of employee well-being.
There we go. And that's a great segue. Tom, one, appreciate you hopping in. That's a reminder to everybody else. Get on in that chat box. We're on 3 different platforms.
Tom has actually nailed it, really.
I mean, Tom's a gangster.
He is talking. That's exactly it. He understands. It is about combining all of these aspects together. You cannot just pick one or the other thing out. It's really about looking at it holistically.
Yeah. And Tom mentions a really good point as well, which kind of brings us into our next segment. I'm talking about the well-being of the employee. Sure. And one thing that you speak passionately about is just culture. Yes. The workplace. Everybody wants to have another buzzword in the industry is good culture, industry 4.0, everything else thrown in a box together, pack it up for Christmas. But,
True.
So with that, let's look behind the curtain. What are some good ingredients for a culture in your opinion?
Good. Okay. So in a working environment, right? In a working environment, I think, there could be many, many ingredients, right? I'm going to pick 3, right? My 3. I mean, I'm sure other people may have other different things.
I need your top 3, my man.
My top 3. Okay, my top 3. It's trust.
Ooh, that's a soft start.
It's accountability, right? And it's teamwork.
Okay.
Right? So those are my 3 things that you need to have to actually make organization work.
Okay.
You got to be able to trust your people, right? Yep. You got to have the right people on the right seat on the bus. But then you got to trust them to deliver, right? You got to just trust them. You got to look, you are here delivering for our Flex. People trust you to deliver for Flex, right?
Which is a bad idea, by the way.
No one, I don't see anybody behind the curtain here, right? So no one is behind the curtain saying, hey, say this.
Unless you see like a cane just come around the side.
That's correct.
Yeah. We're good. That's what you're saying.
So you got to trust your people. You got to have the right people, and you got to trust them to do it, right?
Yeah.
You might have to provide training. You might have to provide them the right tools.
God forbid, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Look at all the tooling in this room.
We're spoiled for sure, but but you're right. But you're so right.
You got to give them the right tools, but then you got to trust them to deliver. Accountability, it is kind of tied into goals. You got to have organizational goals that are very transparent,
right,
and very clear to the organization. So no one is in doubt as to where the organization is going, and no one should be in doubt as to what their contribution to those goals are. Then no one, absolutely no. If there's anyone in your organization who's in doubt, you have to sit with them, you have to talk to them, you have to basically say, this is how you contribute to this organization's goal, right? And then you got to hold them accountable to delivering those goals. Because otherwise the organization doesn't move forward, right? The organization is a sum of the collective effort of the participants of the organization.
Amen.
Right? So you go around the shop, and thank you for the wonderful tour. It's like it's an amazing operation. Thank you.
We're spoiled. Absolutely.
So we are very spoiled. Yes, I am kind of jealous of all the tooling and all the machinery and everything else. It's you want to play, right?
Of course, we do every stinking day. I don't know how we get stuff done here. I really have no
Exactly.
idea. Yeah.
But that's the third part, right? You got to have teamwork.
Yes.
Right. No one, as I say, no man is an island, right? Or no woman is an island, right? So it's
true.
You got to have that teamwork. You can't have people working in isolation. It is a teamwork. I saw you going around, giving high fives to people around because it is a teamwork. It is the organization has to work together to achieve those goals. Each individual goal contributes, but collectively they achieve the final goal of the organization. So for me, those are the three key ingredients. It's trust, accountability, and teamwork.
Solid indeed. We resonate with that a lot here, and I think that those who are doing it correctly really build, their foundation on those specific pillars.
I can't think of any organization that would be successful long term without having, a culture that supports these key things. I mean, you can of course add more to this. For me, these are the three key ingredients.
Of course. Now, when we talk about ingredients, we've talked about innovation, sustainability, and productivity, and all separate scenarios. So, how is culture? We're going to tie everything together because I know you can do it. How is culture related to these? Like, what's the direct relationship? Because I feel like you'd be like, nope, chop. But Ahmed says, no, these are related. Unpack it.
These are related. So,
tell me about it.
Okay, innovation. Okay, hear me out. Innovation.
I will hear you every single time, bro. I'll hear you every time.
I'm going to try and bring them together.
I believe in you, dude. You got this.
Innovation, sustainability, productivity. These are all organizational goals, right? And culture is the binding glue, right? That's the sustenance to achieve the goals. Because if you don't have a good culture, you're not going to achieve those goals. You're not going to be having a sustainable organization. You're not going to be innovative because the team doesn't work. The culture isn't there. The culture of innovation isn't there. You're not going to achieve your goals because the team is not working. The individuals may be working, but the team is not working. And there are many examples out in the industry of companies failing to getting somewhere because they had a poor culture. So to me, culture is the sustenance. It's the core sustenance. It's the food that takes the organization through good times and bad times, right? Because when the time gets tough, like when COVID happened, when the financial crisis before that, or the financial crisis before that, businesses suffer. But the businesses that survive because they have this culture of supporting each other and getting through those tough times. And then they obviously benefit too greatly when the times are good as well. So culture is the core sustenance, I think, of an organization. So you got to nurture it, you got to develop it. It's like a relationship, right? It's any relationship. It needs to be developed, it needs to be nurtured, and it isn't stagnant either. 40-50 years ago, I mean, our company is 70 years old this year, right? So actually last year, this is the 70th year of being in existence, and the companies evolve, the culture evolves, right? There are some core values, for us, it's the golden rule, right? Do unto others what you would have unto you, right? So, those key elements don't change. They are kind of the very core of the culture, but there are other things that do change, evolve with time, right? You have to be open to that. You have to be open to bringing those things, using new technologies, using, being open to new concepts, basically, in organizational management. So, culture, that's how I tie it together. It's the sustenance. It's the food for the organization.
Makes sense. And now I'm hungry all of a sudden. So thanks for that. But what I'm hungry for is more information.
Okay, go ahead.
Because we got two more questions. One, we got to know trends, man. So whether it's 1, 2, however many, what are some things either people are not talking enough about or they're talking a lot about specifically, for many reasons. But in your mind, what are you seeing?
From a business perspective, the big trend that we see is reshoring, right? So
that's a good
business
one.
Coming back to USA. Nearshoring, so business coming back to North American continent. I think the COVID really opened up people's eyes, and even the the current issues with some other countries that we are facing,
Yeah.
are sort of highlighting the issue that long supply chains that are dependent on sort of complicated channels to get to the end user are not as robust as we thought they were.
Right.
And so a lot of companies are investing in bringing manufacturing, bringing that products closer to where the consumers are. So there is we see a very significant trend to companies basically coming back and starting up manufacturing here. The second trend, and I am personally very excited about it, and it's not I would say it's not like a super new trend. It's been going on for a few years now. Is this maker movement, right? It's
Okay.
If you look up maker movement, right? It's basically people who are passionate about making stuff, and they are setting up these small, we used to call mom and pop shops, but these people, and many of them are now using social media to share what they're working on or what they're doing, and they are really being innovative. They are employing the more people. They are bringing manufacturing like at the grassroots level back to USA. And it's kind of a when you look back to the sort of this last quarter of the previous century, we kind of sort of wholesale exported our manufacturing overseas, right? Economic reasons. But we didn't just export the factories, right? We didn't just export the factories. We also, in essence, exported the skills, the knowledge, the mentorship, the experience, the what do you call it? The path, the career path for people coming into, because there was nothing for them to go to. So they were never looking at. So you at some point in the last 30 years or so, manufacturing became a blind spot to the younger generation, and it's this new maker movement which is starting that grassroots thing again. They're rediscovering manufacturing, developing at the grassroots, making these things, and displaying them, and really, I think between those two things, I think, and the productivity improvements with like robots and cobots and automation and so on, which is partly because of the skill shortage issues, right? That they're coming in, but all of these are really making USA manufacturing kind of the cutting edge, leading edge in the world, basically, because we are bringing in, but we are not bringing in the old. We are kind of bringing in the new, bringing in the new innovative way of doing things, and that is very exciting. So for me, those are a couple of big trends.
Two solid trends, two solid ones, and then lastly, where can we go? What can we look at? Where can we peruse to be able to learn more about yourself, Master Fluid Solutions, just all of the above? Where would you point us to?
Okay, so I don't know whether we should go somewhere to learn about me. Come talk to me.
Solid stuff. There he is.
Right, exactly. Maybe I'll open a YouTube channel.
There we go.
But for our company, masterfluids.com, come to our website. We have the website is well organized by industry, by products, by so you can go and learn about. And we have enormous amounts of educational content in there. So if you're thinking about manufacturing, if you want to learn about how other people have done it, what things they've been able to achieve, we put out a lot of case studies to just encourage this trend. They encourage that you can do it, right? Other people can produce better. There are better ways of doing it. Just carry on doing it. And of course, you can. In this day and age, we are on almost all of the social channels. So we have a YouTube channel. LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, even a TikTok. Our digital marketing specialist has put us on TikTok. I am still trying to figure out how TikTok is going to work, but I'm going to learn.
That's right. The attention is there. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah, that's right.
You are already way ahead of the curve just for being there. I can tell you
Thank
that
you.
right now.
Thank you.
It's great. So, and speaking of great, really, what a wonderful conversation. It was awesome being able to hang out with you. And shout out, do we have anything else in the chat box?
Yes, sir.
Can't leave people hanging.
Our boy Tom.
Tommy, what you got, Tom?
You can tell good culture by the tenure of the employees.
This is true, Tom. What else we got, Isaac?
And Tom says again, the old school way of just-in-time ordering is going to have to change until we get more manufacturing back in the States.
Yeah.
Tom
That
gets
is
it.
the right way.
Yep, Tom gets it on multiple fronts. So,
Exactly.
hey, Tom, appreciate you and all of our live guests on today's episode of Flex and Friends. Hey, this is Eddie with Flex. Make sure we're going live every Thursday, more often than not, especially with holidays and things along those lines, or fun trade shows on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So make sure you check us out also at flexmachinetools.com. But hey, this has been a wonderful episode of Flex and Friends. Hey, you all stay awesome. You stay flexing, and we'll see you next time.